Chapter 1. The Edge of Collapse, 1918 to 1920. By 1918, the Ottoman Empire had been teetering for decades, a shadow of its former self, racked by internal dissent, territorial losses, and the growing strength of nationalist movements within its borders. In the real timeline, it would have been defeated and dismantled after joining the Central Powers in World War I. But in this alternate reality, a different choice is made. The Ottoman leadership, still dominated by the Committee of Union and Progress, but facing intense internal opposition, ultimately chooses neutrality. The arguments of pragmatists like Ahmed Reza, Ismail Enver's political rivals, sway the Sultan and a weary war cabinet. The empire, already weakened, does not throw its lot in with Germany. Instead, it declares neutrality and positions itself as a mediator between the Entente and the Central Powers. Though disappointed, Germany moves on to court Bulgaria and Austria more aggressively. Britain and France, for their part, welcome the Ottomans' neutrality reluctantly. The Sykes-Picot Agreement remains unsigned. The Arab Revolt, never receiving British support or coordination, fizzles in its infancy. T. E. Lawrence is recalled before gaining prominence. By 1920, while the rest of Europe reels from the war's destruction, the Ottoman Empire is bruised but intact. The Balkan Wars, financial collapse, and the Armenian uprisings have left scars. But the war has not broken the empire, and so it endures. Chapter 2. A New Constitution, a New Empire, 1921 to 1935. With the war over, a reckoning begins. The Ottoman elite, especially those in the military and provincial administrations, understand that survival cannot mean stagnation. The empire must modernize and decentralize. Inspired by emerging Republican ideals and fearful of the kind of collapse seen in Tsarist Russia, the Grand Council meets in 1921 for an extraordinary session. The Sultan approves what becomes known as the Second Federal Compact. This sweeping document restructures the empire into a federal monarchy, a union of autonomous provinces with cultural and legal self-governance, all under the shared sovereignty of the Sublime Porte. Arabic and Turkish are co-official languages. Provincial councils gain wide-ranging authority over education, taxation, and internal policing. A bicameral imperial parliament is formed, composed of a House of Peoples, ethnic and religious representation, and a House of Provinces. Armenians, Kurds, Greeks, Arabs, Jews, Assyrians, Berbers, and other minorities are granted distinct federal zones, each with proportional representation. While the Ottoman military and foreign affairs remain centralized, the empire now resembles a loose but functional commonwealth. This transformation prevents major secessions. In return for local autonomy, nationalist movements shell demands for independence. Even the most rebellious Arab leaders accept their seats in the new system, especially with foreign powers kept at bay. The 1920s and 1930s become an era of cautious modernization. Rail lines are extended. A new Ottoman lira is introduced to fight hyperinflation. Universities in Istanbul, Baghdad, and Cairo standardize curricula. Arabic newspapers flourish. The Armenian language is officially recognized in Cilicia. Kurdish poets, once persecuted, are now celebrated in Diyarbakir. The caliph remains a symbol of religious unity, but no longer interferes in civil governance. The empire has become something new, a multicultural federation, fragile but alive. Chapter 3. Shadows of War, 1936 to 1949. The winds of global conflict return in the 1930s. As fascism rises in Europe and communism spreads in the East, the Ottoman Empire walks a careful line. Hitler's Germany reaches out to Istanbul, hoping to use the empire's strategic position to control the eastern Mediterranean. The Ottoman High Council rebuffs him, remembering the costs avoided in the previous war. Instead, the empire signs a non-aggression pact with both Germany and the Soviet Union, positioning itself once again as a neutral trade corridor. Internally, the 1930s are marked by increasing surveillance and censorship. The government fears subversion from both far-left communist groups in Armenia and Kurdish regions, and far-right Arab nationalist cells funded by Italy. A new intelligence agency, the Central Director of State Security, is established in 1937. World War II devastates Europe, but the Ottomans remain observers. Their ports are open to fleeing Jews, though immigration is controlled. Their railways shuttle goods and oil across the continent, keeping trade alive even as bombs fall in Berlin and London. In 1945, as Europe lies in ruin, the Ottoman Empire stands, damaged, repressive, but remarkably stable. It is now one of the few continuous imperial regimes in the world. Chapter 4: The Oil Revolution, 1950 to 1975. The post-war years transformed the empire beyond recognition. In this timeline, Ottoman Arabia is never conquered by Ibn Saud. The al-Saud family remains a tribal nobility in the Najd region, loyal to the central Ottoman authorities. The Hijaz, including Mecca and Medina, remains under imperial oversight, with an autonomous religious council handling administration of the Hajj and sacred sites. The discovery of oil in the eastern Arabian province in the 1940s sparks an economic explosion. The empire forms the Imperial Petroleum Authority in 1952, a joint commission of Arab, Turkish, and foreign engineers. Foreign companies are allowed drilling rights, but ownership remains with the state. This prevents the rise of private oil monarchies. By 1960, the Ottoman Empire is the largest single oil exporter in the world. With this wealth comes a new era of modernization. Highways, dams, airports, and hospitals transform the empire's infrastructure. Cairo becomes the empire's cultural capital. Istanbul remains the administrative heart. Baghdad emerges as a commercial giant. The empire funds secular and religious universities across its provinces. Female literacy skyrockets. A middle class emerges across every province. But inequality grows. Kurds, Armenians, and Christians still complain of underinvestment. Protests in Van, Kirkuk, and Adana demand more regional control. The government, flush with oil revenue, invests in these regions, but also increases the reach of secret police forces. Meanwhile, the Cold War tightens. The Ottomans refuse to join NATO, but cooperate with both NATO and Warsaw Pact nations. Their ports host American tankers and Soviet scientists in alternating months. The empire becomes a center of espionage, diplomacy, and global intrigue. Chapter 6: The Pax Ottomanica, 1992 to 2010. The post-Cold War world is dominated by three major powers: the United States, the European Union, and the Ottoman Empire. With the USSR gone, the Ottomans moved quickly to fill the void in Central Asia. Cultural and linguistic ties to Turkic nations like Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan allow the empire to sign economic and security pacts. A Trans-Caspian pipeline, funded by Istanbul banks, begins operation in 1999. Domestically, the empire enters its most peaceful and prosperous era. The Ottoman Tech Initiative launches digital infrastructure projects across the empire. Istanbul becomes a regional tech hub. Universities in Jerusalem and Cairo gain global renown. A new generation of leaders emerges, young, Western-educated, but loyal to the federal model. The caliphate still exists but is entirely ceremonial. The real power lies with the Grand Chancellor, elected every 6 years by the imperial parliament. Though opposition parties exist, the government remains tightly managed. Dissidents disappear quietly. Journalists are monitored. The empire celebrates its 700th anniversary in 1999 with a global exposition, showcasing art, science, and Islamic heritage. It is now one of the world's leading economies, a major diplomatic power, and a potential rival to both the U.S. and China. Chapter 7: The Modern Empire, 2011 to 2025. The Arab Spring touches the Ottoman provinces, but only just. Protests erupt in Alexandria and Damascus over youth unemployment, but the federal system absorbs the unrest. Local governors are replaced. New elections are held. Concessions are made. The empire does not collapse. It adapts once again. There are no U.S. invasions of Iraq, no civil war in Syria, no ISIS. The empire's centralized control, though authoritarian, prevents regional disintegration. Surveillance is heavy. Freedoms are limited, but order is maintained. In 2025, the Ottoman Empire is home to nearly 400 million people. It stretches from Bosnia to Oman, from the Caucasus to Sudan. It controls the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, and the Strait of Hormuz. It has the world's second-largest standing army. Its space agency launches satellites with Turkish and Arabic inscriptions. The empire is not democratic. It is not entirely just, but it is stable, powerful, and still alive. It never fell,